Next, we're going to draw the mouth. And drawing the mouth, I will choose a new color. So we'll choose a blue color because we're just kind of cycling through and playing with our different colors that we have. So I'm a big fan of using RGB color values because they have numbers in them. And one thing that we can do when any parameter or property is a number, then we can modify that through code by adding or subtracting to that number, so it's easier to work with it. If we use the hex values, the pound 2588E8, that's great, but it's much harder to then do any transformation of color if we wanted to animate a color transformation or make colors change based on what is happening when our program is running. So that's why I personally will use RGB colors as my primary color option. Just wanted to point out why I'm not always just choosing copy and working with that. Short break here from the code. Let's go into the reference. Now if I look back at the reference under 2D primitives, we will see there are some other options. So I could choose something like an arc to draw them out. Now doing this and working with arcs, my experience has been it's not always a pleasant experience. It doesn't always work how you expect, and it can sometimes be challenging. And for the purposes of this project, I'm going to encourage you to stick to square, circle, rectangle, and ellipse as the primary elements that you work with. You could also use line, where a line just has x1, y1, and x2, y2, so you have a starting point and ending points with it. You can do that. But I would say just stick with the four basics primarily of square, circle, square, circle, rectangle, and ellipse. You can throw a triangle in the mix if you want, as we have done here. So I'm going to do a rectangle for my mouth. Adding in that rectangle, rect, and again it wants my different values. So my x, y, width, and height. So if I'm going to make my mouth 150 pixels wide, that means I need to subtract half of that width so that it will be centered on the face approximately. So that'd be 75. We know that the center is at 400, so if I do 325 for my x value, and I can know that the center of this, it was drawn when the whole face was drawn, it was drawn 50 up from center. So if I put in a value of, let's just try 320, and we'll just experiment and see how that works. And then I know I want a width of 150, and let's just do 60 for the height, and my line with a semicolon. Run that, and we'll see that, okay, so position's pretty good, but the height is a little bit much, so I'm going to shrink that down. And now let's try again, and now it has shrunk. So what have we learned here? We have learned to set the size of our sketch, background color, fill colors, and drawing 2D primitive objects. Organizing our code using comments and white space to make it readable. These are all things that are going to be very useful moving forward. So I'm going to save this and say that now my smiley face, my first program, is indeed done.